Part 3. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 21. In the examination room, candidates were doing questions quietly. The player scratched his head, fidgeted, and looked at the 10 questions on the exam paper. His face turned purple. This kind of confusion of sitting in the examination room but knowing nothing is really a test of one's psychology and extremely painful. More importantly, there are no multiple choice questions. Which exam paper has no multiple choice questions? Inhumane. Otherwise, even if you are confused, you will be able to get a few correct answers. At the same time, Shen Jian was thinking. Suddenly he noticed something was wrong with the examinee on his right. Shen Jian turned his head slightly and saw the examinee at the right table staring at the exam paper, helpless, nibbling to relieve stress. Crunch, crunch. Creepy. Then, Gui met Shen Jian's eyes. This time, the turtle fell in love with the tortoise. Gui will take action immediately. Another pale and stiff hand stretched out and stared at Shen Jian's hand. To launch an attack, take away the human hand and put it on your own. This is an unreasonable attack. It's the murderous instinct of the devil. There is no pattern to be found, only careful avoidance. Other players saw the scene and their scalps went numb. In addition to examination papers, there were also such attacks in the examination room. The entire examination room has a total of 42 seats, 10 players, and 32 tricks. One person attacks each other, and no one present can escape. Is this a thriller game that doesn't give you life? Even the two official players' expressions changed in shock at this moment. Even if it is a 2-star copy, it should not be this difficult from the beginning. This has exceeded the standard. On the chat interface, countless players howled. Who can survive this dungeon difficulty? Countless people's hearts are filled with despair. Looking at the outstretched hand, Shen Jian silently raised a question mark. How dare you? Do you think your uncle, the king of hell, can't lift the knife? The ghostly hand grabbed it, and the gloomy aura surged. The heartbeats of all the players could not help but stop for a moment. Faced with such an attack and unable to run away, he could only resist. Without means to save his life, this player would probably fall into trouble. Shen Jian had no expression on his face and grabbed the outstretched hand. No matter how hard the ghost's hands tried, he couldn't break free at all. The next moment, Shen Jian put his ghost hand behind his back on his examination paper. Then he stood up and shouted. Someone is trying to cheat. Ghost candidate? Player? Everyone was confused. Shen Jian's voice was like ripples in a frying pan, shocking everyone. Everyone in the examination room focused their attention. Includes 2 proctors. They saw the ghost examinee grabbing someone else's test paper, but was captured by the real person, as if he had both stolen and stolen goods. Faced with Shen Jian's accusation, the ghost examinee who planned to attack also froze on the spot and could not react for a moment. Mother Kite is such a bitch. He has been in this examination room for decades, and this is the first time he has been accused of cheating by humans. And your test paper is clearly a blank piece of paper, and you didn't even write your name on it. I am a ghost, and I need to copy your paper? If this spreads out, will my reputation as a repeater of 30 years be lost? However, before he could break free, the male invigilator had already arrived in front of him. Looking at the evidence, a strange smile appeared on his stiff and empty face. The pale palm suddenly turned into bone-white ghost claws. The next moment, the repeater was blasted out, smashed through the glass and hit the opposite wall. It flattened immediately, blood flowed all over the floor, and the yin energy was almost gone. If it were a human being, I'm afraid it would have become a non-Newtonian fluid. All players were stunned. Can this still be done? I'm super, it's so cool. This is a temptation on the verge of death. If the ghosts in this examination room collude with each other, the ghosts will want to tear you apart after a dozen of these little reports. Judging from the strength of the male invigilator, none of the players present may be able to take a bite. However, the reality is that this player won the bet. He defused a ghost attack. All the players expressed admiration. This player whose ID is King Yama is so cool. The show makes my scalp numb. Even the official man and woman looked at each other in shock. Is there such a customs clearance operation in the training manual? Is this a level 10 player? However, just when all the players thought the matter was over, Shen Jian frowned and said, "It is wrong to punish students corporally. You can take him down and I will invigilate the exam for you." Players. How long have you been drinking for? So swollen? This is a ghost, you thought you were an extra. Okay. The male invigilator was stunned for a moment, his tone became respectful, and he even bowed slightly to show respect. Then he held the nearly disappearing ghost in one hand and walked away. Player. What's the situation? When did the ghost become so obedient? Everyone was stunned. This level 10 player is a bit wild. The path taken is not an ordinary one. Under the gaze of everyone, Shen Jian walked out and hung the invigilator's business card on his chest. Don't tell me, the feeling came up all of a sudden. And all of this is naturally equipped with his star teacher status. It's really useful. That ghost teacher has a very high status in this school. Shen Jian looked at another female teacher who was invigilating the exam. The first thing that catches the eye is a pair of slender, smooth white thighs, and a pair of red high heels hanging on her jade white feet, which are eye-catching. Wearing a tight black skirt and a white short-sleeved t-shirt to cover her body, her facial features are exquisite and charming. Shen Jian. It's completely impossible to tell how he died. But forget it, he is face-blind anyway and can't tell who is beautiful and who is ugly. He just wanted to discuss academic issues with fellow teachers. Shen Jian took his test paper and sat on the podium, then called the female teacher over. The status of a star teacher is particularly useful at this moment. Come on, let me test you. How should you do this question? Shen Jian pointed to the test paper and humbly asked for advice. There was a hint of blush on the pretty face of the female teacher, as if she felt that the weather was too hot. She pinched the collar with her white hands and loosened a few buttons. I'm still standing. The female teacher said charmingly. Shen Jian suddenly realized and patted his thigh. It's too narrow here, so we have to make do. The female teacher smiled coquettishly and sat there. This question is simple. The female teacher picked up the pen. Shen Jian also put his hand up, his palms crossed, feeling cold. In close contact, the yin qi grows faster. Add 3 refreshes the screen. This is my test paper, I should do it? Shen Jian said seriously. The female teacher smiled coquettishly and let Shen Jian do this. The two of them wrote the answer one stroke at a time. The atmosphere is full. Do not treat the candidates in the examination room as outsiders at all. Player. Ghost candidate. Brother, is this appropriate for you? Did you forget that this is an examination room? Have you forgotten that there is a group of people here? People and ghosts have different paths. You're like this, it's too immoral. It's an insult to elegance, it's an insult to elegance. Where is the morality? Where is the bottom line? Where is the dignity? Where is the quality? Where are the ethics? Where are the contact details? Where is the female spy? The ghost candidates were all anxious. This is the goddess of their dreams. The players were also dumbfounded and wished they could take their place. Female spies are very common in thriller games. But usually, they are all mutilated female corpses. Such charming female spies can only be found among the staff of the dungeon itself. However, all the female spies in the dungeon are white-clothed level or above. Who dares to provoke them? No matter how powerful the players are, they can't compare to ghosts. It has been the first time since the horror game has been launched that they have seen such a scene that shook their worldview. So envious, so jealous, still envious. They are also players. Others are hugging the female teacher and enjoying one-on-one caring teaching. What about them? Surrounded by a group of weirdos, I can't answer the questions, I can't beat the weirdos, and I don't dare to look at them. I am so envious that my back molars are almost broken. An hour passed. Shen Jian's test paper has been filled up, but he is a little surprised. He knew that the status of the gold medal teacher was very high. But I didn't expect that there was only one gold medal teacher in the entire school. This is a well-deserved star teacher. The kind that even the principal doesn't give in to. While thinking, Shen Jian has left Wenro Township and reluctantly performed his duties as an invigilator. He tore off a bit of scratch paper. He was casually thrown at the feet of a ghost examinee. Hey, you cheated. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 22. As an invigilator, Shen Jian felt that he needed to correct the style problems in the examination room. He casually tore off a small piece of paper, wrote the answer in it, and randomly threw it into the shadow of the heel of a yellow-haired ghost candidate. Players. Shen Jian is one of their group. They noticed Shen Jian's operation early on, but what do you want to do? Chat interface. Players are discussing. I felt like he had a bold idea. What a show. Doesn't this boss want to destroy this group of candidates? I know it's very possible. There are no conditions to create conditions for others to cheat. Who is the ghost in this thriller game? Any of you who know this boss, I want to add him as a friend. Add one. Add one. The other side. Shen Jian pretended to patrol a few times and then stopped. You cheated. Shen Jian knelt down and picked up the note. A look of pain and sorrow on his face. Everyone's eyes are focused here. The female teacher also came over after hearing the news and checked the note. His eyes suddenly fell on a yellow-haired candidate. Huang Mao looked confused. How can you accuse someone of innocence out of thin air? Although I am a bad student, I don't mind cheating. How could this note be mine? Framed. There are thieves who are framing him. I didn't. The yellow-haired ghost screamed for himself at the top of his lungs. The female teacher took the test paper and matched it with the answers on the note. Oh wow, even the answers that were not answered on the test paper appeared on the note. Needless to say, it was cheating. The female teacher's aura became dangerous and gloomy. The white jade hands turned into ghost claws after rubbing together. Huang Mao was confused. Did I cheat? Did you cheat in your dream? Just a small punishment. Why go to such a big fight? I'll do it. Shen Jian shook his head. How could he be captured and confiscated from the 18th level of hell after being beaten to death? The unlucky guy just now was almost beaten out of his body, his yin qi was almost gone, and he couldn't get much wool out of him after he was caught. This one is different. The yin energy is of good quality, so it can probably last for a while longer in the 18th level of hell. The female teacher woke up with a start, and the ghost claws quickly restrained themselves. Twisting. Like being seen in a bad light. He glared at Huang Mao fiercely. Huang Mao. Big brother, you are my reborn parents. The yellow-haired ghost looked at Shen Jian with deep gratitude in his eyes. Just now, he was almost beaten to the point of being beaten. Cheating in the exam room, cancelling the results, and the menstruation is too bad. You must inform your parents. Give me your mother's phone number. I want to talk to her about this problem. Shen Jian said seriously. As for now, I'm going to give you some punishment. Huang Mao nodded. Compared to being slapped to death, other punishments are nothing. The next second, a red-dyed ghost rope descended out of thin air, put it on Huang Mao's head, lifted it up, and hung it in mid-air. Huang Mao. He was wrong. This punishment is so embarrassing. He was moved out of the examination room by Shen Jian with a look of tears on his face. Exams are still going on. Shen Jian stopped next to a ghost with a long tongue. Just watch him quietly answer the questions. Why? Shen Jian sighed slightly, his voice only covering one person. Long-tongued ghost? I'm super, what do you mean when you sigh? The long-tongued ghost suddenly became nervous. Quickly start checking the previous problems. When the third question was checked, the sigh came again. It was accompanied by a slight shake of the head. Did I answer this question wrong? The long-tongued ghost looked at the question, which food in the cafeteria is the most nutritious? His answer was eye-catching. That's right. This dish is the most nourishing. This is almost universally accepted in the cafeteria, how could it be wrong? Well. Another sigh. The long-tongued ghost's brain is storming. Wrong, this must be wrong. Could it be fried pancreas? He tried to write the answer down. Why? Wrong again. The long-tongued ghost heard the hidden meaning. Steamed skull? Why? Braised kidney slices? Why? Raw marinated spicy chicken? The long-tongued ghost was completely confused. My head was spinning, and I was scribbling on the exam paper. Am I not a ghost? Why don't I understand this question? He fell into self-doubt in his life. For the first time, I felt that I might not be a ghost. However, Shen Jian's sigh continued. At a certain moment, the long-tongued ghost broke out. He stretched out his hands to pull out Shen Jian's tongue. Everyone around was shocked. So brave. Attack the invigilator? Shen Jian couldn't help but laugh and slapped him down. Knocked the long-tongued ghost to the ground. If you continue to answer questions, I will take you out for education and beat the invigilator, and your results will be cancelled. Shen Jian was heartbroken that another pillar of the ghost world had gone astray. Pain. It's so heartbreaking. Must be taught a lesson. Shen Jian dragged the long-tongued ghost out of the examination room. Under Huang Mao's horrified eyes, he was punched and kicked. The people in the examination room were trembling. The players are all crazy. A flood of 666 is flooding the screen. This operation really makes my scalp numb. The style of painting is different from others. About 10 minutes. Shen Jian returned to the examination room. Continuing his career as an invigilator. During the inspection, Shen Jian suddenly stopped. Look at the ghost with eyes next to you. 10 questions, all correct. Still a top student. Shen Jian was slightly surprised. The top student ghost seemed to feel something and subconsciously turned his head to look, just in time to see Shen Jian staring at his test paper. He showed it generously. In this world, only ghosts understand ghosts. He was determined to be number one. He will not waver in his choice. Seeing that the other party behaved well and showed no signs of overstepping, Shen Jian narrowed his eyes. If there are no conditions, of course we have to create conditions. The shadow under his feet broke away from the plane and flowed into the shadow of Swib, a ghost like black ink. A ghost hand stretched out and tapped lightly from behind. The top student was stunned. Behind him seemed to be the same kind. That's a scumbag. Are you asking him for an answer? No, the consequences would be serious if caught. The top student ghost suppressed his thoughts. Ignore it. Shadow Cree took action again, this time with a few more clicks. And right behind the top student ghost. Jianhu emergency. The top student ghost was shaken. They are all of the same kind, why should I be so harsh? But the invigilator for this exam is a human, and he has a bad attitude towards going. If he is caught, his score will be cleared. Yingui works even harder. Just tilt the answer down and I'll figure it out myself. In the end, Swibagui compromised. Quietly move the answer to the lower left corner and hold it down with your arm. At the same time, he whispered, hurry up and copy. The scumbag behind? There is such a good thing. Then I will copy it. The scumbag began to write straightly. It was a joy to copy. He didn't notice at all that Shen Jian was already standing behind him. How about taking one with me? I want to copy it too. The scumbag didn't even raise his head, and whispered, don't push me, wait for me to copy. The sound stopped suddenly. The scumbag suddenly raised his head and saw Shen Jian standing behind him. I have nothing left. The scumbag was dumbfounded. Brother, I am an old copycat and have never even looked at the answer. You can catch me right now. It would be a pity not to settle the score. And you have a great future, but you will use it to do some evil things. Shen Jian hates that iron cannot become steel. They took away their test papers. He also took the two of them outside for a good lesson. Academic overlord, your copying skills are so bad, I shouldn't listen to you and copy for you. Slacker student. You obviously didn't know which rib was wrong and sent it to my door for me to copy. How did this become what I asked for? The two ghosts were hung in the air and stared at each other for a while. Trembling all over. I'm super, there's something dirty. Ah. The ghost with a long tongue, a bruised nose and a swollen face, snorted with disdain. He knew exactly what was going on, and the human must have used some method, but he just didn't bother to say it. Even though his nose was bruised and his face was swollen, and he had two black eyes, and even though he begged for mercy half an hour ago, he still refused to accept it. Only the yellow-haired ghost looked at them with confusion. I secretly thought, the invigilator is indeed a good teacher. I must call my mother to express my gratitude. There are still good teachers in this school. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Buletin Chigua. Chapter 23. Jingle Bell. The first half of the exam is over. In the examination room, all the ghost candidates breathed a sigh of relief and were on the verge of crying. Their ghost lives were finally saved. That invigilator is not a human being. From the beginning of the proctoring to now, 10 cheaters have been caught. There are fully 1/3 fewer candidates in the examination room. This is such a shame. Scared. Scared. This human being cannot be offended. Even their goddesses were facing each other, and during the conversation, their bodies almost overlapped. The female teacher smiled coquettishly, her face turned even crimson, and she was so beautiful. I don't know what shameful things were mentioned. This makes them jealous to the point of plasmolysis. Can't wait to replace it? On the contrary, there are players who have been stunned. Send friend invitations to everyone. Shen Jian agreed one by one. Friends, the more the merrier. As long as one of these players can issue a special copy invitation letter, he will have an additional purchase channel. Naturally, the more friends the better. After Shen Jian sent a message, he followed the female teacher back to the office. This secret school is divided into 2 urban areas. One is the middle school. One is the high school department. The game area where he is located is the middle school department. His identity is the star teacher of the middle school department. Shen Jian came to his seat. There are textbooks piled on the table in a mess. Just then, the landline rang. Shen Jian answered. A young woman's voice sounded, "Teacher, did something happen to my son at school?" Shen Jian was stunned for a moment, and then realized that it was the parent of the yellow-haired ghost. This voice, this tingling tone, this alluring mature tone, he had already imagined the image of a married woman on the other end of the phone, a peach mature enough to squeeze juice. "Madam, with this score, your son may not be able to go to school this year. You can come to school and we can discuss it in detail in person." Shen Jian's tone became more serious, with a look of regret on his face. "After chatting for a few minutes, I hung up the phone and picked up the parent information on the table and read it. Then Shen Jian noticed a piece of information. 7 strange stories on the campus of Blood Moon High School. Blood Moon High School is the name of this school. 7 weird stories on campus. Shen Jian was thoughtful. Campus ghost stories are spread to some extent in almost every school. And this Blood Moon High School has many supernatural incidents. Strange Story 1, Hanako in the toilet. Weird Story 2, the extra 13th level of stairs. Weird Story 3, the sound of the piano sounds when no one is playing it. Strange Story 4, the sound of crying in the corridor. Strange Story 5, the second self in the mirror. Strange Tale 6, the girl with a gaping mouth who caused social tragedy. Weird Story 7, a strange ringtone that will ring when you are alone. Hiss. Shen Jian couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. If we catch them all, the second level of the 18 levels of hell will be unlocked. How much yin qi will this require? They must be done. Shen Jian took a look at the location. They were all strange stories circulating in the high school. Why hesitate? According to the location, Shen Jian passed through the edge boundary of the 2 campuses. Warning, warning, you are entering a high-level copy, please leave, otherwise you will no longer be protected by the copy. A line of scarlet font is telling. Shen Jian ignored it. Passed through the edge barrier. You have entered the 2-star copy, 7 weird stories on campus. Even though there was no one in the long and dark corridor, some screams could still be heard faintly, giving people a feeling of heart palpitations. Shen Jian appears here. He looked up and saw that the sky was gloomy. The night sky is clear. The entire school is empty of students. Crazy quiet. This is the first floor of teaching building number 1. There is a strange story here. 13 extra stairs. It is said that there are only 12 floors on a certain staircase in the number 1 teaching building. However, as long as you silently recite the number of floors every time you walk down the stairs, an impossible 13th floor will appear when you walk down the stairs. If you step onto the 13th floor, you will be sucked into the legendary plane of the dead and will never be able to return to reality. In the darkness, Shen Jian's face was expressionless. The shadow behind him was reviving, and its head poked out from the plane. Under the dark night, in the gloomy ghost school, his ghost instinct drove him to occupy other people's bodies. He wants to kill people. Assemble a perfect body. Ouch. Then Yinghui saw Shen Jian's dangerous expression. What, do you deserve another beating? I just came out for some air. Why are you so fierce? Yinghui bowed his head in grievance and merged into Shen Jian's shadow again. This bad silver. Without payment of wages, his work would be in vain. I didn't even let him come out for air. Be aggressive with him at every turn. He just wanted to build a perfect body, what was wrong with him? After calming down the resurgence of Yinghui, Shen Jian set off. Behind him, ghost rope trembled. Safely acting as a tool rope. Hanging behind him were 10 ghost candidates who had already rolled their eyes, jumping up and down and following Shen to the gym. Soon, the place for the strange story has arrived. Shen Jian's heartbeat began to accelerate. The trick is right in front of you, why can't your heart beat faster? First floor, second floor, Third floor. Shen Jian stepped onto the stairs and counted the floors. When he counted to the 12th floor, he stepped on the stairs. It was as if he had disappeared on the stairs, as if he had entered an unknown space. There was endless darkness above and below, and there was nothing around him. There is only one staircase. Appeared. 13 extra stairs. Shen Jian walked up. In the darkness, a flash of blood suddenly appeared. It's like guidance. Shen Jian followed the bloody light and walked away. At the end of the bloody light, a tree with a human head appeared. Many finger-thick black vines hang down from the branches, and a human head hangs below each vine. Pale and forbidding. Shen Jian's eyes narrowed, and then he felt disgusted. And he is a person who pretends to be wealthy. They are all normal heads, not weird ones. On the other hand, under the human head tree, there was a tall black shadow hanging upside down, with its head facing downwards. It had the same outline as a human, as if it was condensed from darkness. It's like a person's shadow. But the strange thing is that there is an eyeball on the shadow's head. A bloody ghost eye. The ghost eyes are turning. The head on the tree began to open its eyes and let out a heart-wrenching laughter. The black shadow hanging upside down on the human head tree also rolled down. The red light in the ghost's eyes began to flash. Gradually, a trace of sinister aura spread out from the other party. Shen Jian walked over and felt it. I can't help but be moved. This yin energy is a ghost in white clothes. The first ghost story is the ghost in white. This 2-star copy is too pure. Love it, love it. Shen Jian glanced at Gui's Hung, who shrank. Brother, don't mess with me. This ghost is of a higher level than me, so if he puts it on, I will be hung up. You don't want to carry the body yourself either. Useless things. Shen Jian cursed secretly and took out a chain from his body. Trick, soul enchanting chain, exclusive to yin difference. Introduce : This is not a prop for a horror game, but a tool from the underworld. There are a lot of them in Yama Hall. All were abandoned in warehouses. Ghost eye? What do you want to do? The ghost eyes were turning rapidly, as if in panic, driving the black figure to stand up. However, Shen Jian didn't give him a chance at all. He threw away the soul-enchanting chain and headed towards the black shadow. The chain locked the opponent tightly, and the unique attribute of the underworld weapon to suppress evil ghosts caused countless black smoke to rise from the black shadow. The heat swept across, and the black shadow retreated, glared, and fell straight down. Lost the ability to recover and was completely suppressed. As motionless as a salted fish. Ghost eye. GGG, you little ghost eye, do you want to come out on your own, or should I invite you to come out? Shen Jian approaches. I feel a little itchy in my fist. Ghost eye, don't come over here. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 24. Chapter 24. Thinking back then, I had all 9 eyes open. Do baa yo. Guiyan panicked. He kept turning over under the shackles of the soul-enchanting chain, and his eyes kept rolling. How could he suffer such humiliation with his dignified ghost eyes? I think back then, he had all 9 eyes. Ouch. A heavy dose of Iron Fist education. Specially for eyes. Ghost eye? It's too much, it's too much. Hit someone in the face without hitting them in the face, slap in the face without punching in the eye. Why don't you human being play your cards according to the routine? That's enough, human being. I had all 9 eyes open back then. The ghost's eyes flashed red, and the black figure without facial outline suddenly spoke. Demonstrating the majesty of the Lord of Ghost Eyes. Let this human know that he is not that easy to bully. Well, can you speak? Shen Jian was slightly surprised. He saw that Guiyan was the real person, but he didn't expect that Gian, a white-clothed monster, could actually have the ability to make a shadow speak. This really doesn't look like the ghost in white. Ghost Eye, human, let me control you, I can let you. Then why didn't you speak just now? Looking for a beating. Shen Jian was too lazy to listen. He took out another underworld weapon from his arms. Weird object, morning stick, exclusive for yin difference. Introduce : Ghost Eye. I know, you humans are too stubborn. How could you be so cruel to deal with me, and incapable of action? Snapped. One stick down. The black shadow was so painful that it hunched over like a living maggot. Ghost Eyes was desperate. Two underworld weapons, one is more subtle than the other, and the yin energy cannot be used at all. He will be beaten to death. Surrender, surrender. Ghost Eyes raises the white flag. A pair of eyes fell from the black shadow. Get Ghost Eyes. Ghost Eyes, incomplete, transplanted into flesh and blood, Ghost Eyes can be controlled. Note, once the Ghost Eyes are opened, life or death is unpredictable. Looking at the message above, Shen Jian picked up the Ghost Eye. The Ghost Eyes are still watching Gilu. Brother, control me. I have all 9 eyes open and am very strong. Shen Jian was surprised. The remaining eyeball can speak, and he somewhat believes that Ghost Eye did indeed achieve greatness back then. It depends on your performance, otherwise I will put you in a trap. Shen Jian said. He pressed the Ghost Eye on his arm. Controlled the second ghost. A scarlet eye opened from the back of the hand. Shen Jian's perspective suddenly changed into a polyhedron. Can see further. That's it, Shen Jian grabbed the Ghost Eye and said in a bad tone, if you only have this ability, I will still decide to use you to suppress the toilet. No, brother, I only have 1 eye left now, and my strength is definitely not strong. Please let me recover. Back then, when I had all 9 eyes open, I could kill ghosts and gods whenever they asked, and the restricted area for living people was equal. Gian screamed and finished speaking. Shen Jian thought for a while and decided to give Ghost Eye a chance. This guy must have some clues when he keeps talking. Stay and watch. If it doesn't work, leave it to Shadow Gui. The ghost's eyes were filled with coldness, and his eyes were rolling, and he always felt that some kind of crisis had just arrived. And without the ghost eyes in this space, everything is dissipating. The next moment, Shen Jian was standing on the 12th floor of the stairs again. That's all. Shen Jian left the number 1 teaching building. Walking on the deserted campus, it was deathly silent. The closest one to him is teaching building number 5. There are 2 strange stories in this building. Hanako in the toilet, the second self in the mirror. According to rumors, as long as you go to the toilet on the 3rd floor of the school, knock 3 times on the door of the toilet closest to the entrance and ask, is Hanako in there? And when you knock on the 3rd toilet, the answer I'm here will come from the toilet. Then the toilet door will open, and a little girl wearing a red suspender skirt and a kappa hairstyle will appear, pull the people outside into the toilet, and then disappear from this world forever. This is the strange story about Hanako. Shen Jian also heard a little bit about it. He recalled that back then, he learned from a certain Hana monk's demon-killing drama that there was such a thing as Hanako, so he went to search for it, but he didn't expect to see the real Hanako today. He raised his head slightly to show respect. Then I went to the toilet on the 3rd floor and tried it according to the method. I'm here. When Shen Jian knocked on the door of the 3rd toilet, the door opened automatically. A sharp and harsh curse came from inside. In the deserted school, this voice was as frightening as an evil spirit calling for life. Then, a pale hand suddenly stretched out, trying to push all the doors open, to get out of this place and lead humans into an unknown world. Snapped. But the next moment, the door was blocked. Someone is coming in. Hanako? Hanako was a little confused. What's going on with this human being? Did he even bring himself in? Shouldn't you run away now and then I'll chase you? You run away, I chase you, and then you can't escape again. But what the hell are you doing here? Bang. The toilet door was closed. Hanako was forced into a corner and squatted on the toilet. She looked up and saw a human looking down at her. It was bad, it seemed like the initiative had been taken away from her without even realizing it. She is the ghost. This human should be afraid of her. What's more, the bathroom is her home court. Who is afraid of who? Hanako started to get mad. The face with smoky makeup is full of ferocity, and the black and blue nails look very sharp. It was a kick towards Shenjian's vaginal legs. Shenjian? Too much. This means that he will have no descendants. If that's the case, then he won't be polite. A long time. After finishing dealing with Hanako, Shenjian came to the mirror. At the same time, on the mirror, a blurry figure gradually solidified, gradually getting closer to Shenjian. Shenjian looked up, and Shenjian in the mirror also looked up. Shenjian raised his hand, and Shenjian in the mirror also raised his hand. There doesn't seem to be anything unusual. Until Shenjian chose a cloth. Shenjian in the mirror paused and took out a pair of scissors. Then he showed a weird smile. This is a very scary scene. It was clear that Shenjian was not smiling in reality, but his reflection in the mirror moved beyond his true self and acted differently. Shenjian seemed not to see it. Continue rock paper scissors. He produces cloth, and the person in the mirror produces scissors. When he produced scissors, the person in the mirror produced a stone. As time goes by, Shenjian in the mirror becomes clearer and clearer. The movements made are also more and more realistic. Already infinitely close to the true deity. The boundary between reality and illusion becomes blurred at this moment. When the two figures completely overlap, Shenjian in the mirror moved. Stepping closer, it's like coming out of a mirror. Soon he leaned out half of his body. You finally came out. You dare to win even the king of hell. You don't understand the world at all, right? Shenjian grabbed the man in the mirror who looked exactly like him. The morning stick is already in hand. With one pull, the person in the mirror was completely pulled out of the mirror. Throw it on the ground. It's just a little different from the way he imagined that he would be powerful and domineering and frighten humans. Ghost in the mirror. Is it too late for him to look in the mirror again? Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 25. As soon as I left the house, a bully stood at the door holding a stick, looking at me with a wicked smile. I want to ask, what should I do in this situation? Waiting online, urgent. The ghost in the mirror is like a frustrated little daughter-in-law, lying on the ground at a loss. This human seems to be a little stronger. Especially when the other party takes out the morning stick, the yin qi from his body is dissipating. If the stick is hit, the skin will be ripped open. Let me ask you, how dare you beat me? Don't you need to understand the ways of the world? If you enter the competition like this, you will be fired for stepping into the office. Shenjian jerked off his big dick in one stroke. In order to seduce this ghost, he lost 23 times. I almost couldn't help but break the mirror and find this ghost. But after the fight, Shenjian fell silent. The ghost in the mirror seemed to be aware of the question of who was strong and who was weak, and made a very wise choice. He covered his face, revealing a face exactly like Shenjian, and bit his lip gently. He looked pitiful and touching. Shenjian. Ah, I can't bear it anymore. Why is this so eye-catching? Shenjian walked over with his big dick again and threatened, change back, can you imitate my face? Ghost in the mirror. Brother, you imitated it yourself. Otherwise, I would have come out so smoothly. How come you don't recognize ghosts anymore when you draw a gun? The ghost in the mirror is even more pitiful. The whole person began to change, a little nihilistic, reflecting the outline of a human figure under the illumination of the light. Very well, now I'm going to teach you the rules. Shen Jian nodded. Come on, let's continue playing rock, paper, scissors. Ghost in the mirror? Subconsciously, he raised his hand and pulled out a pair of scissors. Just when he was wondering about winning or losing, he saw Shen Jian slowly pulling out a stone. The ghost in the mirror was confused, and then he was greeted by another big dick. You lose. The ghosts were all aggrieved. You cheated. However, Shen Jian didn't pay attention and continued, come again. This time, the ghost in the mirror was clever. He did not take action immediately, but waited for Shen Jian to act together. Snapped. A crisp sound came. Shen Jian said expressionlessly, I asked you to play, why didn't you play? Do you look down on me? With that said, he raised the morning stick. You are too stubborn. The ghost in the mirror was shocked and angry, feeling that he had been insulted by a ghost like never before. After all, he is an old senior of Blood Moon High School, can he be more respectful? Where does this put his senior's face? The ghost in the mirror tried to resist. But when the morning stick fell on him and he doubled over in pain like a living maggot, he succumbed to the other party's power. Shame is shame. He is tired. Lying flat. If life is cruel to you, if you can't resist, then try to enjoy it. This sentence makes so much sense. Ouch. The ghost in the mirror screamed in pain. This life is too cruel. A long time. Shen Jian finally had enough fun, patted the shoulder of the ghost in the mirror, and said earnestly, Idiot, have you understood? Do you understand the ways of the world? Ghost in the mirror. Enlightenment, enlightenment. Great enlightenment. The leader is first, the principal is second, the director is third, and I am fourth. Children can be taught. Shen Jian nodded with satisfaction. Crunch. The toilet door was pushed open. Hanako, who was wearing a red suspender skirt, a kappa hairstyle, and a smoky makeup, also walked out, reluctantly handed over the test paper, and then looked at Shen Jian with a lustful look. Shen Jian took a look at the test paper. His face immediately fell. What a mess. This is not enough. Educational work still has a long way to go. Come with me, how did you get such good grades while sleeping? Shen Jian took Hwazi, closed the door, and helped her with her homework. Ghost in the mirror. Can I leave? It would be rude to stay here any longer. If you dare to run, I'll break your legs. Shen Jian's voice came out. After a stick of incense, Shen Jian continued to wash his hands. Hanako followed behind, looking like a little fangirl. Then a ghost rope was pulled down. Hang the ghost in the mirror in mid-air. Then move to the end of the queue. The team expanded again. Then the ghost in the mirror suddenly realized that the figure in front of him looked familiar. It was pitch black, with a human-shaped outline, as if it were condensed into darkness. There was a circle of chains wrapped around the body, and it was still steaming. It was very painful to see it. Yell, good fellow, familiar acquaintance. He was instantly happy. It would be a shame for him to be caught as a ghost. But a group of acquaintances were captured, that is, they joined the gang. How can this be the same? Black Shadow finally got out of the toilet. It was getting darker. So quiet that you can even hear your own heartbeat. Shen Jian figured out the direction. There are 7 strange stories on campus, 1 in teaching building number 1 and 1 in teaching building number 5. There are also several ghost stories that have no fixed location. Will appear anywhere on campus at any time. Tap tap tap. Just then, footsteps sounded. The sound of high heels hitting the ground echoed on this floor. In the dim corridor, a tall girl wearing a fur coat and a mask appeared. Wrap yourself tightly. She came slowly. He is dressed like a senior outdoor enthusiast. It would not be surprising for Shen Jian to appear in a movie with an English word as its title. Crack Girl. One of the 7 strange stories on campus. It's a completely random ghost. The refresh point is unknown. Will appear at any time, any place, anywhere. Am I pretty? A sharp muffled sound came. The cracked girl stood in front of Shen Jian and asked again. What do you think, ugly bitch? Shen Jian spoke bluntly. Ripped girl. Her voice stopped suddenly, and she was interrupted from casting a spell. I didn't react for a while. Can you listen to what someone has to say before speaking? What about basic courtesy? If you do this, all the emotions I have worked so hard to brew will disappear. The cracked girl was frozen for a long time. Feeling that she must have heard wrongly, she followed the procedure and took off the mask. A horrifying face with a torn corner of the mouth was revealed. He approached Shen Jian step by step and showed a strange smile. Am I beautiful like this? Snapped. Shen Jian walked over with a big dick, looking disgusted. Can't you understand people? Ugly dick. Ripped girl. You have to be self-aware if you look ugly. Why do you come out to scare people? You can't suffer anything, right? Brother, those words are too vicious. This time, the cracked girl couldn't hold herself any longer. I was slapped for no reason and called ugly. This was beyond her psychological range. She has never been scolded like this in her whole life, and she can't bear this grievance. A huge scythe was lifted up by the slit girl. Yin energy was gathering towards her. The terror level suddenly broke through to the white-clothed level, and the level of danger was soaring. The surrounding light is getting darker and darker. It seemed like the voices of countless evil ghosts were playing. Snapped. The morning stick was struck directly. Do you think your Kamen Rider transformation has an invincible frame? Shen Jian used his hands and feet to knock and kick. Every time the morning stick is struck, the gaping girl will let out a wail. He was soon beaten until he was squatting in a corner and shivering. The sickle was also confiscated by Shen Jian. Shen Jian walked over slowly, knelt down, and said softly, Ugly. Ripped girl. How did you say such cold words with your 37-degree mouth? You are ugly and no one wants you out, but you know what? I don't dislike you at all. Why does this sound so weird? Also, your clothes are not good, you don't know how to dress up, and you wear a mask all day long. No one will like you, and it is impossible for anyone to appreciate you. Only I can, and I can tolerate your many flaws. Do you know? Shen Jian continued to output. The tone is sincere. Also, you're too tall, so that's not okay. A girl's 1.5 meters is equivalent to a boy's 1.8 meters. You're almost 1.7 meters, so you can't find a partner. But I'm different. I don't dislike you. The more she listened, the more she felt something was wrong. But thinking about it carefully, it seems right. She really has no friends, and no ghost is willing to play with her. She wears a mask, and she does have a certain inferiority complex. Only when she is wrapped in a tight coat can she feel safe. Now that she heard what Shen Jian said, she felt even more lonely. And this human being doesn't dislike her. Now you know, I am the one who treats you well. The cracked girl nodded slowly. He recognized Shen Jian's words and actively showed his goodness. You have received 3,000 thriller coins as a gift from the ripped girl. You have gained the favor of the cracked girl. You have unlocked the ripped girl plot mission, to be completed. Please vote for recommendations, Please vote for me, and please continue reading. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 26. Looking at the prompts on the game panel, Shen Jian was slightly surprised. Can this also trigger a mission? Favorability. Can the corresponding plot mission be triggered by brushing Wayagui's favorability? Then he should have triggered a lot. Shen Jian's eyes passed over the ghost rope, ghost eyes, shadows, and the ghost in the mirror one by one. Everyone hates the cold. The ghost rope hung in the air, floating lightly out of Shen Jian's sight. Yingui was hiding in Shen Jian's shadow, not even daring to show his face. The ghost eyes were still moving, but now they were closed, pretending to be dead. Ghost in the mirror. Brother, if you hang me like this, do you think I should have a crush on you? How did you defeat us? Do you have no psychological points? Like 6-star favorability, pay in installments. If I can't control you, I'll make you surrender. Shen Jian withdrew his gaze. Back to the mission again, wanting to know more information. The weird plot missions are not part of the dungeon, please explore on your own. A line of scarlet font revealed. Shen Jian pondered. He has also heard about the legend about the cracked girl. It is said that the slit girl was a normal woman before, but when she was undergoing plastic surgery on her mouth, the doctor accidentally cut her mouth open to her ears. Then the slit girl went crazy, killed the doctor and fled the hospital. The plot mission refers to investigating how the cracked girl died. This is a bit difficult. After all, there are too few clues and not much useful information. Do you know how you died? Shen Jian asked the cracked girl who had been initially successfully trained. The cracked girl shook her head in confusion. He just pointed at his fur coat. Open. Shen Jian was stunned. I can't tell that the cracked girl is more playful than him. Wrapped in a fur coat, he is indeed an experienced outdoor game enthusiast. He likes. Shen Jian rubbed his hands and pulled off the rope holding the fur coat. What was inside was not the forbidden content he wanted to see, but a set of clothes. Blue uniform. On the bulging part, a few vague words can be seen vaguely. Psychiatric Hospital No. 444. Shen Jian frowned. Yet another new location. Hospital. Was the cracked woman a patient in this mental hospital? There are still too few clues. Shen Jian opened his bow left and right, not even missing the lush forest, and searched them one by one. But no more valuable information was found. He suppressed the matter. If you have too many lice, you won't be itchy, and there is no time limit anyway. He can take his time. Shen Jian stood up, with Hanako on the left and a slit girl on the right. There was a red ghost rope on his head, and a long line of hanging ghosts followed behind him. He was preparing to go to the next location of the ghost story. At the same time, it's quiet at night. At some point, 6 players had appeared in the number 1 teaching building. A tall man with a cropped haircut, refreshing and serious face, whose ID is Instructor Chien said, I am Instructor Chien of Daxialanke. I have received the most professional training and know how to avoid mortal danger, you follow me and I will take you out. The other 5 players were shocked and nodded frequently. Instructor Chien, you have also seen the main mission. We need to witness the ghost stories one by one. In other words, we need to face 7 ghosts of varying degrees, trigger their murderous patterns, and safely avoid attacks. As soon as these words came out, all the players turned pale. Facing 7 ghosts, trigger the killing patterns one by one and avoid attacks. Compared with the 1-star dungeon, the difficulty is several times higher. There is simply no way for players to survive. Those who can survive to this day, even if they don't have supernatural props in their hands, still have an extremely keen insight into danger, but it is still almost impossible to avoid the attack of 7 ghosts. After all, ghosts have many killing patterns. Maybe if you don't look back easily, you will lose your life. This is almost impossible, but fortunately, there are already colleagues who have explored the way for you. These 2-star copies of the 7 weird stories on campus have been registered in our Daxia. Instructor Chien continued. This is the number 1 teaching building, which is the 13th floor of the strange story. This place is extremely dangerous and is connected to a ghost burial place. According to our internal speculation, the entire space is used to suppress a powerful ghost. If not, the terror level of this fierce ghost will even rise to a 4-star or even a 5-star dungeon. As he said that, everyone rushed to the place where the ghost story was. Soon we came to the stairs. A young man with the ID of Long Jueza swallowed his saliva and said, "Then this place is so dangerous, how can we avoid the ghost's killing pattern?" Relax, this ghost has been suppressed. He will indeed revive briefly after we step onto the 13th floor, which is enough to destroy us all at once. But as long as he does not step into the range of the red light, his revival will take some time. We can leave safely. Instructor Chien explained patiently. The overall meaning is the same. If I have information, I will take you to fly. Then the footsteps were already on the stairs, counting each floor. When he reached the 11th floor, he said, "Are you ready?" The players nodded. Well, we are about to enter the first place of ghost stories, the Ghost Eye Forbidden Zone. Instructor Chien finished speaking and stepped onto the 12 flights of stairs. At the same time, he shouted, "Don't panic when you see something later." The word stopped abruptly. Because there were 13 flights of stairs, he didn't show up. Players. Instructor Chien? Instructor Chien, could it be that Gian has moved? Some players are weak. They finally plucked up the courage to break into the strange restricted area, but who knew that nothing happened, and the psychological gap was huge. Instructor Chien. You thought it was a human being who changed houses and moved. Why didn't you say that someone carried you away? He was also confused. It was clearly mentioned in the training that if you step on the 13th flight of stairs, you will be transported to a dark place, where there is a tree with a human head and a black corpse hanging upside down under the tree. There is a ghost eye in the black corpse. The level of terror is very high. Not to be messed with. But now, 13 flights of stairs, gone. How can they enter the restricted area of ghost eyes, witness strange stories and escape attacks? What the hell? It was never mentioned in the training. After adjusting his mood, Instructor Chien coughed and said, "It may have something to do with the time. Let's go to other ghost talk locations first, and then turn back." Player. This Instructor Chien seems a bit unreliable. This is just an accident. Let's go to Building 5. There are 2 strange stories there. Instructor Chien is serious. He's getting serious. The next 2 strange stories may require some effort. He wants to regain his prestige as a teacher of Daxia. Wait, what is that? Just as the players walked out of Building 1, a female player suddenly covered her mouth with a horrified look on her face and pointed tremblingly at a teaching building in the distance. Everyone looked. All the souls of the dead are gone. I saw a dark figure walking on the floor of one of the teaching buildings, followed by more than a dozen hanging corpses, as if someone was holding a balloon with a human head. It's almost like the underworld is seducing people. This scene is too scary. It would scare people to death. At first glance, you can tell that it is not a mysterious existence that players can mess with. It's a walking ghost story. Instructor, is this one of the ghost stories? Players panic. Regardless of whether the person hanging from the head balloon is a human or a ghost, It proves that these walking ghosts are extremely scary and extremely aggressive. Once encountered, it is difficult to say that they can survive. Instructor Qian couldn't hold himself any longer at this time. The pupils shrank. What's the situation? Is the copy updated? The walking ghost is obviously a woman with a gaping mouth. What the hell is this figure holding a balloon with a human head? The eighth strange story is the mysterious man holding the human-headed balloon. There are players swallowing. An unknown eighth ghost story appeared in a copy that only existed among the 7 ghost stories. This copy is becoming unfamiliar. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chi Gua. Chapter 27. Walking on campus, Shen Jian was counting something. The 7 ghost stories on campus, Hanako, the cracked girl, Ghost Eyes, and the ghost in the mirror have all joined his team. The remaining 3 strange stories are the sound of the piano that sounds when no one is playing, the sound of crying graves in the corridor, and the strange ringing of the bell that will ring alone. He is rushing to the music classroom. Go and meet the piano wizard there. Jingle bell. Just then, a cell phone rang. Shen Jian was stunned, took out his phone and saw a series of asterisks. The caller is unknown. And here is a thriller game. This is a supernatural call. It's one of the weird stories. A weird ringtone that rings when no one is around. Shen Jian answered. It was extremely quiet on the other end of the phone, and there was no sound at all. You're dead, why don't you say anything? Shen Jian's brief words were horrifying. Hit the pain point. Ghost call. This human being has no manners. But as a professional ghost, he had his own professional ethics and continued to intimidate. Kaz, Kaz. There were strange sounds coming from the other end of the phone. It's like an old videotape has jammed, unpleasant and harsh. Shen Jian frowned and urged, can you omit these complicated procedures? How about you just come out and let's have a PK in the Imperial City? Campus Weird Tales 7, the strange ringtone that rings when no one is around. This is a strange story that is widely circulated in Blood Moon High School. It is said that this ghost story only picks out single people. The victim will first receive a mysterious unknown call. The ghost story will collect the victim's horror emotions through intimidation. When the horror emotion reaches the standard, the ghost story will appear in front of the victim. Kill people brutally. He is a rather no-nonsense person who follows the rules strictly. Shen Jian was a little impatient to wait. On the other end of the phone, Kaz's voice suddenly stopped. Maybe it was the first time for a ghost to meet a human who was so eager to see him. This made him a little nervous. After a few minutes, a hoarse voice like a TV malfunction came over the phone. Why aren't you afraid? I'm so scared, really scared. I'm so afraid that ghosts are coming to catch me. Shen Jian said expressionlessly, and then added, I am so scared that my legs are weak and I can't even stand up. Come and kill me quickly. Ghost call. I am a ghost, but not a stupid ghost. You are insulting my intelligence. After another moment of silence, the voice of the ghost caller came out, I can't feel your panic. Shen Jian frowned and threatened back, why are you so rigid? I said I was scared to the point of weakness. Why don't you just come here? If you don't come, I will go find you. Neuropathy. On the other end of the phone, the ghostly caller's body was surging with yin energy, which indicated that he was not calm at this time. He couldn't listen anymore and hung up the phone directly. It's not that he doesn't want to go to Shen Jian, it's just that he can't do it. He relied on the thrilling emotion to locate the player. Without the thrilling emotion, he couldn't tell where Shen Jian was. And Shen Jian shouted that he was scared, but he didn't offer any emotion at all. They also ridiculed him in every possible way, how could he endure this? This idea is annoying, so let's use another bully. He wanted to take it out on a human being. Do. Listening to the blind tone on the phone, Shen Jian looked at the phone screen in disbelief. How dare he hang up the phone of the King of Hell? It's so wonderful that this ghost dared to hang up the phone of the King of Hell. No, I have never suffered from this kind of arrogance. I must fight him back. Shen Jian called back without hesitation. The other side. The group of 6 players is still in the horror of the 8th ghost story. Such a powerful and aggressive monster is a nightmare for all players, and no one wants to face it. The first female player who discovered the ghost stories said with horror, "The main mission is to witness the 7 ghost stories on campus, and now one of the ghost stories has disappeared and turned into 6 ghost stories. If we want to complete the main mission, we must face this monster ghost." As soon as these words came out, all the players turned pale. Even Instructor Chien became serious for a while. There is something wrong with this copy. A powerful ghost sneaked into the campus. This is no longer the difficulty level of a 2-star copy. Don't panic, stay calm, reason is always the magic weapon to win in horror games. Let's deal with the other ghost stories first, and then discuss the 7th ghost story. Instructor Chien spoke up. He is an instructor trained by Daxia Longke, and his words allow all players to find their backbone. Jingle bell. Just then, a cell phone rang. Everyone was shocked. They all looked towards the source of the phone call. A young man whose ID is Long Jueze, his cell phone is ringing. A strange ringing sound echoed. The young man looked horrified and took out his phone, which showed a series of asterisks. Unknown number. In thriller games, outside electronic devices simply cannot function. The only thing that can operate is supernatural power. It's the ghost talker calling. Instructor Chien said immediately, his tone suddenly relaxed, and the fear previously shrouded by the 8th ghost story also dissipated a lot, and he showed a confident posture. This is the best solution among the 7 ghost stories. The ghost call collects the victim's fear through intimidation, and uses this as a basis to locate the victim's location. Once the ghost locates the victim, the killing pattern will be triggered. But the way to avoid it is also very simple. Just don't show fear in front of the ghost call. His threat is divided into 3 parts. First, it will be silent, then it will make a weird sound, and finally there will be a sound like grinding teeth and chewing. As long as these 3 parts of fear is not revealed in the audio, the ghost caller will give up the attack. As soon as these words came out, everyone became relaxed. Indeed, given the information, the so-called ghost calls are not scary at all. They are all players who have experienced dungeons, so it is easy to control their emotions. The young man selected by the ghost call also breathed a sigh of relief, calmed down, and answered the call. "Found you." A sharp and harsh voice sounded from the phone. That's the voice of a ghost. Everyone was shocked, and the young man hung up the phone directly. He looked at Instructor Chien. "Instructor Chien. Can I say I was taken aback too? He is messy. Are ghost calls still threatening in this way? How come this copy is completely different from what he heard? If you fight back, you must survive the attack of the ghost caller, otherwise his ringtone will ring at any time and place." Instructor Chien once again asserted his authority. The young man's throat rolled, he hesitated, and then he hit back. "Hello, the number you dialed is currently on a call. Players." Instructor Chien was confused. Why, besides them, could there be other people in this copy calling ghosts and talking on the phone? How can there still be a busy line? Suddenly, all players were in a mess in the wind. At the same time, the ghost caller, who just felt a little bit frightened, looked at the ringing phone and fell into deep thought. He froze. He never thought that someone would take the initiative to call him. And the phone number looks familiar. He's that human being whose every bite is scary, but doesn't have the slightest hint of horror. The ghost caller looked at it for a while, then hung up with a bang. Snort. Ghosts also have dignity. If you call me and answer it, I will lose face. After about a breath, the phone rang again. Ugly rejection. Ring again, reject again. Are you still ringing? I still refuse. But as he resisted, the call from the ghost suddenly became angry. If you have so much free time, why don't you go pick shit up? Why are you interrupting my work? Jingle bell. The phone rang again and again. Snapped. The ghost caller couldn't bear it any longer. When he answered the call, he immediately typed out, "Human, what do you want to do? I don't want to trouble you anymore, so why are you calling me?" On the other end of the phone, Shen Jian said quietly, "Today, one of us must be crazy. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace." Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 28. You're crazy, you. Snapped. The ghost was so electrified that he was shaking all over. Hang up the phone. Decided to ignore this human being. Jingle bell. The phones rang again. Ghost call. Brother, why are you so persistent? Didn't I just make a harassing phone call? Why are you so entangled? It makes me seem like I have done something outrageous, and you are causing trouble for me like this. The ghost is about to cry. He was obviously the one who complained the most. Forget it, just mess it up. I won't be working anymore. Let's see how long you can work. GameElements gave up all resistance and prepared to fight this human to the end to see who could stand it first. He still didn't believe that a human being could be so careless that he kept causing trouble for him. Then, for the next hour, the phone didn't stop ringing. The ghost call collapsed. He couldn't stand it anymore. He wants to work, he wants 996. No one can resist his passion for this job. In the end, GameElements chose to compromise. He endured his grievance and answered the phone. Liwa cried out with rain. Brother, you are my eldest brother, how can you let me go? Just treat it as a harassing phone call and stop persisting. I recommend you go to the gallery to find the grave weeper. If not, go find the troublesome musical ghost. They will definitely be interested in playing with you. A series of grievances were vented by ghost calls. Shen Jian was stunned for a moment. When the phone is on speakerphone, I can't hear what is being said. Listening to the voice on the other end of the phone, the caller suddenly froze after finally venting his grievances. What kind of talk is this? Damn it, he was the only one suffering this hour? The ghost caller was confused. I thought it was a mutual injury, but now I realize that he was the only one injured from the beginning to the end. What were you just saying? Say it again. Shen Jian said casually. Ghost call. I want to say your uncle. He broke his guard, forgot what he had just said, and started to threaten directly, human, you'd better not let me find out where you are. Huh? You can't find me. This time, Shen Jian heard the key and raised his head slightly. I rely on fear to locate people. If you don't give me any fear, how can I possibly know where you are? The ghost call said viciously, but don't be complacent, I will definitely find you. When the time comes. The words have not yet fallen. Shen Jian had already interrupted, I'm on the 3rd floor of Yingke building, come quickly, I'm very scared. Ghost call? He didn't react for a moment. Then he was stunned. Yingke building, isn't it the teaching building where that troublesome slut lives? It's right near him. Are you in Yingke building now? Yes, I'll be waiting for you on the 3rd floor. Shen Jian said lazily, if he had known that this loser would not be able to find his location, he would have revealed his location from the beginning, wasting his time. Just wait, don't run if you can. The ghost called and got excited. Hang up the phone directly. Hearing the beep from the phone, Hanako also returned the phone to him, asking for credit and reward. There's nothing we can do about you. Shen Jian was helpless. Prepare to reward Hanako with a future. Jingle bell. At this time, a strange ringing sounded again on the silent floor. Shen Jian took a look at his phone and found that it was not on his phone. The ringing sounds are getting closer and closer, as if they are moving. The sound goes from far to near, very close. Finally, Shen Jian raised his head. A ghost is lying on the ceiling. His neck was twisted 180 degrees, revealing a pale face with bleeding eyes, and there was a phone on his head. Hey, I found you. The ghost call made a terrifying laugh. Shen Jian's eyes moved. Heartbeat. This weirdo actually has a phone on its head. Who can resist a ghost with a phone on his head? Shen Jian smiled, GGG, I have been waiting for you for a long time. The ghost caller's smile froze. Why does he feel that this human being is happier than him? He must have lost his mind and gone crazy. The ghost caller also laughed. He let out a sharp, weird laugh. He wanted to cut this human into pieces and take off his head to become the next carrier. Thinking of this, the ghost caller became even more excited. Crawling to the top of Shen Jian's head, his 180-degree twisted head laughed strangely, and at the same time, his hand had already been stretched out, intending to launch the most violent attack and remove this human's head so that he would never be able to speak again. Until he saw Shen Jian pull out a giant scythe. The application of yin qi from above can cause harm to him. Moreover, it looks a bit familiar. Then, a white morning stick appeared on the right. The yin qi above was stronger. Just taking it out made him fear from the bottom of his heart. That stick could kill him. Shen Jian used his left hand with a morning stick and his right hand with a giant scythe, directly hitting Gui Ladian's head and looking directly at him. I heard you are very brave. Ghost call. A minute ago, he would have said with great pride, just kidding, I'm super brave. But now, he just wants to say, brother, no. Ouch. There was a burst of pain. The ghost call fell directly from the ceiling, the skin and flesh were torn, and the yin energy was dissipating. Brother, 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 my phone is on. Give me some face, give me some face. The ghost call screamed. The place where the morning stick had been struck was steaming. He pointed to the phone above his head. He didn't know when it was connected, but no sound came out. GGG, I will let you reunite with him. Shen Jian laughed strangely, picked up the morning stick and hit it. If I guessed correctly, the people on the other side of the phone were undoubtedly the last two ghosts of the 7 ghost stories. However, it was useless to report the ghost stories. The locations of these 2 ghost stories were fixed. After a good repair, Guizheng lifted up Guizheng with a look of pity. Alas, life is not easy, Guizheng sighed. You said why should you mess with him? I've seen people die, but I've never seen people deliver it to their doorstep by courier. At the same time, listening to the screams on the other end of the phone, the 6 players shivered. What is this? They finally got through the ghost call, but they heard such a horrible sound. It makes those who hear it sad and those who listen to it cry. Their worldview is shattered. The ghost could still be beaten violently and was begging for mercy. Isn't that the 8th ghost story? He is targeting us now. The female player screamed, terrified to the extreme. A ghost who can beat up ghosts violently, thinks this is a level-breaking game, and there is a big boss. This is definitely not something that players can defeat. Once encountered, there is no way to survive. Ignore this, complete other targets first, and then figure out a solution later. Instructor Qian spoke up, ending the gloomy atmosphere. Others also cheered up. Listen to Instructor Qian's official clearance method. There are 2 ghost stories in Building 5, namely Hanako in the toilet and the second self in the mirror. The locations of these two ghost stories are the same and can be completed at one time. As he said that, the players went all the way to the toilet on the third floor. Everyone is ready. Don't dare to be careless in the slightest. Two ghost stories mean there are two ghosts here. Once the murder pattern is triggered at the same time, no one present can escape and must be careful. Instructor Chien took a deep breath. I believe you all know more or less how to summon Hanako. This monster will only appear in the third stall of the toilet, so we need to block the door. Block the door. Everyone was shocked. Competing strength with ghosts? How can this be done? Of course it's not an ordinary door blocking, but a soaked person blocking the door. One person can block the door for about 3 minutes. After 10 minutes, Hanako will disappear again and needs to be summoned again. Instructor Chien moistened himself with water, and then followed the method and knocked all the way to the third room. Excuse me, is Hanako inside? The players all tensed up their bodies and were highly nervous. Be ready to block the door next. Time passes while waiting. About a few minutes later, a player said weakly, is it possible that Hanako has also moved? Instructor Chien. Players. All the players couldn't stand it any longer. Instructor Chien tried again according to the method. Another few minutes passed. There was still no movement in the third toilet. After pushing it open, except for a lot of water stains on the toilet, the so-called Hanako was not visible. Instructor Chien collapsed. As for Hanako, where did such a big monster go? This copy is dirty and cannot be played. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Buletin Chigwa. Chapter 29. In the copy of the ghost story, the 13th flight of stairs disappeared inexplicably, the ghost called and was beaten for no reason, and Hanako disappeared. Is this the distortion of human nature or the loss of morals? Instructor Chien was dumbfounded. Logically speaking, they should be happy that they can't see ghosts, but their dungeon mission is to avoid ghost attacks. You can't even see the ghost, how can you hide from it? Everyone is messed up. Don't panic, the other Kaitan is definitely here. Instructor Chien became more cautious and said confidently, in addition to Hanako, there is another strange story here. It is a ghost in the mirror who can imitate. He can only imitate humans and must not have moved. Players. Ah, yes, yes, yes. Everything you said is right, we will watch your performance quietly. Instructor Chien came to the mirror, and his figure was clearly reflected in the mirror. The ghost in the mirror, one of the ghost stories, will imitate the human beings who appear in front of the mirror. When the overlap reaches a certain level, the ghost in the mirror will appear in the mirror, comes out of it, takes the place of the real body, and the victim is forever lost in the mirror. As soon as these words came out, the players collectively shuddered. Taking the place of a human being, this ghost would be too terrifying. Once the ghost in the mirror leaves the real world, it will be impossible to catch it again. This time is usually about 10 minutes. If he is exposed to a large extent in front of the mirror or shows more actions for him to imitate, this time will be shortened to 1 to 3 minutes. The avoidance method is also very simple. When he is about to step out of the mirror, if you break the mirror, you can avoid the murder pattern. Instructor Chien's tone was extremely serious and he was highly focused. This requires consideration of timing. If it's too late, the ghost in the mirror will completely revive and replace the original body. It's almost too late, the ghost in the mirror's killing pattern has no time to activate. The mirror must be broken at the moment when it is about to escape from the mirror in order to survive safely. Time flies. Soon, 10 minutes passed. The toilet is very quiet. It was so silent that you could hear their own heartbeats. The ghost is about to appear. Everyone is staring at the mirror. When the ghost revives, the mirror image will move, like another self existing in the mirror space, which is easy to distinguish. A minute passed. 2 minutes passed. Instructor Chien, will the ghost in the mirror disappear? A player reminds me. Instructor Chien Zhuangsu said, don't be careless. The ghost in the mirror is very smart. He is probably deliberately pretending, just waiting for us to reveal our flaws. 3 minutes passed. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes passed. Player. Instructor Chien. An inexplicable awkward atmosphere enveloped the place. Instructor Chien looked up at the sky and made up his mind to beat up the guy in the archives room when he got back. At the same time, he said to himself, everyone, don't panic, there is definitely another strange story. As soon as he said this, he got a few pairs of eyes. Believe me, you will definitely be right this time. One of the strange stories is that the red embroidered shoes will only appear at a specific time. Calculating the time, it is almost now. This time, I will definitely take you to see ghosts. Instructor Chien gave a serious assurance. Several people left Building 5 and walked all the way towards Yingke Building. Instructor Chien's professional explanation continued, the sound of a piano that sounds when no one is playing is a very confusing and strange story. Its body is not a piano, but a dancing red embroidered shoe. The red embroidered shoe steps on the piano, a weird sound came out. The killing pattern of the red embroidered shoes is very simple. It will invite people to dance. As long as you can follow its steps and complete a dance, you can survive. Otherwise, it will wear it under the player's feet and control the player to jump off the building. Everyone felt a chill. A shoe turns out to be one of the weird stories. Can any of us dance? Suddenly, one player asked. Don't worry, I will. Instructor Chien said confidently. Are you a macho guy learning to dance? While talking. Dang dang dang. A strange piano sound sounded. Instructor Chien's spirit was shaken, and he felt a bit of surprise in his heart. It's a ghost, it's a ghost. The ghost is still there. He burst into tears. Finally, one Khitan survived. He quickened his pace and reached the music classroom on the top floor. In one of the empty piano rooms, the distant sound of piano came. The room was filled with light. It looked so weird in the dark teaching building. Looking through the overhead doors and windows. There is a piano in the center of the empty piano room. On the keys of the piano, a brand new red embroidered shoe is jumping happily, stepping on the keys, and continuously produces notes. It was an unknown piano sound. No one played it. The sound was sharp, not like the sound that a piano could play at all, but more like a ghost singing. This is not played for living people, but for ghosts. Gilo, do we really want to go in? One player's throat rolled. Standing at the door of the music classroom, he stopped. Then do you need help? At this moment, a faint voice came. Everyone's expressions froze, and a chill rushed from the soles of their feet to the Tianling cap. Who? Who was speaking just now? The player turned his head stiffly. Not far from the corridor, a black shadow was approaching. Behind the black shadow were rows of hung corpses. A life-threatening red hemp rope was floating above his head. There is also a ghost filled with gloomy energy on the left and right sides. The whole thing is like a yin soldier traveling. It's a mistake. The eighth strange story on campus. Run away. The ghost is coming. The ghost is coming with human heads and corpses. Oh my God. All the players cried for their fathers and mothers and fled directly, not daring to stay even for a moment. Shen Jian. Looking at these escaping players, Shen Jian slowly raised a question mark. What are you running for? Baffling. Shen Jian was a little depressed. It was not unusual for players to be in the dungeon. He just wanted to make friends. There were many ways, but who knew that the other party would just run away as if he had seen a ghost? Disappointing. Sure enough, ghosts are more interesting. It can comfort his soul. Shen Jian pushed open the door of the music classroom. The music stops. The toes of the cheerful red embroidered shoes faced Shen Jian. Red embroidered shoes invite you to dance. You choose 1. Dance, 2. Dance, 3. Dance. Shen Jian showed his disgust. I don't even have a body, so I might as well be holding a blunderbuss when dancing with you. Red embroidered shoes. Wow, you are so vicious. How could you say such cold words to a lady? Although I don't have a body, I am soft, flexible, and cold, and my hand feels no worse than a small foot. I can totally use it as a foot. You haven't even tried. How do you know I can't do it? No, I can't bear it. You can question my body, my piano skills, and my appearance, but you can't question my foot skills. Red embroidered shoes came jumping up and down. It was like an invisible ghost wearing shoes and walking slowly towards Shen Jian. Snapped. Shen Jian grabbed it and threw it backwards. The red embroidered shoes were thrown into the corner. Come here again, be careful if I abuse you. Shen Jian said fiercely. Red embroidered shoes? I'm just saying, you really want to do this? With shoes? Wow, I feel like a ghost. What's your lower limit? The red embroidered shoes were hiding in the corner, shivering. It's just a shoe, I don't want it to get stained by anything crystal clear. Gian, it's your turn. Find another ghost for me. If you don't do anything, your fate will be to fill the hole. Shen Jian spoke. There are 2 ghosts here. The sound of the piano sounded without anyone playing it, and the ghost was indeed the red embroidered shoe. But the red embroidered shoes are just another ghost's puzzle piece. Red embroidered shoes. I'm super, ladies can't swear, but when you can't help it, you don't have to worry. Who betrayed their friendship and told this kind of information? This is obviously information that only ghosts know. Ghost call. The red embroidered shoes are moving around, trying to revive and push back the humans in front of them. But he retreated under Shen Jian's gaze. Woohoo, sister, I can't help you. This human being is terrible. He really knows how to use shoes to do bad things. The ghost eye began to revive, a red light burst out, and the perspective turned to the piano. Piano. Inside. Shen Jian came over and a giant sickle appeared in his hand. One split. The piano broke directly in half. The piano ghost hidden in the piano was also revealed. It was a female mummy, as if someone had stuffed it into the piano. A pair of dry feet is just right. Such a pair of jade feet will definitely look good wearing red embroidered shoes. It would definitely have a different taste if used for anything else. Chingui. I'm so torn. Is your focus wrong? Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigua. Chapter 30. Chingui panicked. She felt that there was something wrong with Shen Jian's eyes, which were always staring at her feet with burning eyes. No one would stare at a girl's feet as soon as they meet her. The shoes are not enough for you, you still want to use my feet? Do you want to watch Sisters again and again? Abnormal. The piano ghost began to revive, and stretched out a pair of dry, colorless palms to step out of the piano, stuff Shen Jian inside, and sleep with her. Shen Jian's face was expressionless. A sickle struck down. Click. Chingui broke into 2 pieces. Half is a head and half is a foot. Chingui. Since when did the ripped girl's ghost sickle have such power? Can her ghost weapon split me open? She, a ghost who doesn't even have a white-clothed level, Split open my ghost body? Died young. This is not science. Qin Gui stared at Shen Jian with dry eyes. She is not dead. Even if it is split into two pieces, as long as the yin qi is still there, the ghost cannot be killed. But being split in half, her terror level is decreasing. This is the only foot you're interested in, so I'll accept it. Shen Jian picked up the crystal jade feet and examined them. These feet did not become dry with the passage of time, but remained alive, with lingering yin qi on them. Another ghost. Ghost feet. Although it does not have supernatural powers yet, given time, this foot will definitely become the next ghost. With the red embroidered shoes, ghost feet, and the body, 3 ghosts were born directly from this woman's corpse. Shen Jian was thoughtful. One of the oddities, the sound of a piano that plays when no one is playing it. Rumor has it that there was once a girl who loved the piano very much. In a very important competition, her usually perfect performance failed due to some mistakes. The girl was depressed and disappeared. Even her body was not found. But from then on, the piano in the music classroom would sound for no reason, and it eventually evolved into the strange story it is today. Now it looks like the girl has stuffed herself into the piano. Sleeping with Qin. What's so special about her? Shen Jian glanced at it and looked back. Too few clues and too many considerations will shorten your life. He was going to let Gui's Hung take the body and study it carefully when he went back. At this time, the red embroidered shoes came tremblingly. It stuck to Shen Jian's feet and rubbed against it. Like trying to please. Then he pointed at Qin Gui, who was dismembered in half, with the toe of his shoe bent, apologizing. It's like saying again, I am willing to serve the devil with my body, and please help my sister recover. See it? Shen Jian smiled. Yingui revived, crawled out of his shadow, and transformed from a flat surface into a black humanoid silhouette. Then a strange scene happened. The dismembered Qin Gui began to piece together without any warning, as if there was an invisible thread repairing the body. This is Shadow Kree's core ability. Splicing corpses. Its murderous instinct is to assemble a perfect corpse. To do this, it will select the parts of its body that it considers to be the most perfect, and then put these bodies together to form a perfect body. Then harness the corpse and become its true form. Splicing is exactly what Yingui is good at. After a while, Qin Gaiji returned to his original state, even his ghost feet were returned. Shen Jian warned, don't control your legs, otherwise I won't be able to make up 3, and I will dismember your other parts to make up the number. Qin Gui. After leaving the music classroom, Shen Jian checked the direction. There is one last weird story left, so hurry up and call it a day. So many ghosts are enough for him to unlock the second level of the 18 levels of hell. At the same time, the group of 6 players also stopped escaping. All of them were gasping for air and their faces were pale. No, you're not chasing me, are you? The female player was out of breath. No, get rid of it. Is that Yin Chai coming to find us? Just now at the ghost call, he said he would come to us. I didn't expect it to be so soon. The other players were all horrified. Being targeted by a ghost is not good news. Especially that ghost can beat other ghosts violently. The level of terror is absolutely high, it seems like there is no need to abide by the rules of killing. This is so scary. Definitely the most terrifying experience in their lives. Huh? Wait, we're missing one. At this time, Instructor Chien discovered something was wrong. They were alone. It was the young man named Long Jueze. He was left behind while escaping. Instructor Chien at Long Jueze, where are you? Long Jueze, save me, I accidentally ran over to the gallery. Seeing the news above, all the players were shocked. Instructor Chien's expression changed even more. This building is called Yingke Building, and it is the main place for various minor subjects and miscellaneous courses. There are two strange stories. The piano sounds when no one is playing it. Crying in the corridor. The gallery is where the weird stories are. Instructor Chien, stay calm. The ghost in the gallery is called the Grave Weeper ghost. Its source is a cemetery feng shui painting at the end of the corridor. The killing rules of the Grave Weeper ghost are very simple: just cry the grave, cover your ears, and don't let yourself show sadness expression. His heart was heavy. There are 7 weird stories on campus, 2 of which cannot be solved by trickery. One is the Rift Girl, who attacks no matter what the answer is. The other one is the Grave Weeper. His cries were unavoidable. And the scope of the spread was huge, covering the entire gallery. Once you step inside, the Grave Weeper will revive. As the recovery progresses, crying will become more inevitable. At the beginning, you can also temporarily delay time by covering your ears. By mid-stage, crying will be heard unless the eardrum is pierced. When fully recovered, even a deaf person can hear the cry. Once infected by the crying and showing a sad expression, the supernatural killing curse will take effect and kill humans instantly. This is a ghost that can only be fought with supernatural power. Long Jueze, no, my supernatural props can't stop the crying. The crying has evolved. Covering my ears is useless. I can't control my face. I want to cry. Everyone was silent. Through these cold words, they seemed to feel the fear between the lines of the players opposite. They feel it. Trapped in a horror game, you are forced into a supernatural dungeon. Which player dares to say that he can survive? Perhaps a copy's inadvertent supernatural power could kill them in an instant. This player's present is their future. Instructor Chien, hold on, I'm rushing over. You can survive until I get here. Players are rushing to the gallery. But at the current speed, by the time they rush over, the supernatural power will have already killed the player. Long Jueze, don't come over, don't come here. Long Jueze, the 8th ghost talks about the evil, that ghost is here too.